the Chief Executive Officer of Seafood New Zealand, Leah Futschek, and she joins us now. Leah, welcome to the show. Lovely to have you on.
Thank you so much, Michael. Good afternoon, and thanks for the invitation.
Listen, you were there, I assume, on the waterfront with Shane, were you? Yes, there you are. I can see a photo of you. You're in the background.
That's right.
Yeah,
a beautiful, stunning day on Wellington waterfront.
Well, the only one you had, Michael, to be perfectly honest with you, so a miracle of its own. No wonder you flocked outside. You've had a shocking summer, haven't you, really?
It hasn't been great, but it has now arrived. 26 degrees today, so that'll be fabulous.
Now, once the kids go back to school, it always arrives. Hey, listen, first of all, there's a couple of issues I want to raise with you. So the first one will be the announcement of what Shane Jones said last week and what the implications are of that. And then the other one I want to talk to you about is you're getting, I don't know you personally, but the fishing industry in general, New Zealand's getting criticised to do with our behaviour at a fisheries forum. So I'll talk to you about that as well. Can I go to the quota management system first? I think I just arrived in Parliament as a researcher, Leah, and they introduced the quota management system. It's been in operation since 1986, I think it has. What's your view on whether or not it works and whether or not it's still fit for purpose?
Yeah, no, good questions, Michael. Look, the quota management system at the time of its introduction in 1986 was world-leading and highly acclaimed across the globe as a really unique system, which was a property rights-based system. And there's only one other system in the world anything like it, and that's in Iceland. Now, the quota management system is not broken. It is still very much fit for purpose, but after nearly 40 years, like any system, it's going to require some tweaks. And those are the kinds of tweaks that have been brought to public consultation in this document released by the Minister last week.
Now, you're the Chief Executive of Seafood New Zealand. Do you represent all the fishers, essentially?
So we represent all of the quota owners, and that's in the wild capture fisheries. So different organisations represent aquaculture, rock lobster and power. So essentially we are wild capture finfish by and large.
Okay, so the quota management system will be at the heart of what you do as well. When you say it requires tweaks, from the viewpoint of the seafood industry, what are the tweaks that you see being required?
So largely they relate to the fact that these days we largely have a tech-driven fishery. So the kinds of information, data, science and technology that is now available to us means that we have real-time information on what's happening within the fishery. Our quota management system and our Fisheries Act, which came in a decade later, 1996, were all forged at a time where that information was not so readily available, and we were very much a paper-based industry. So, for example, one of the things that is being proposed in these proposals that have been released is a more agile way to make decisions on whether we raise the total allowable catch for any specific stock, or we decrease it, depending upon the information that the fishery presents to us. So being able to make those decisions in a more agile way actually is the very, very basis of the quota management system in the first place.
So essentially you're saying that if there is new scientific information about the stocks, whether they are overestimated or underestimated, they're getting overfished or underfished, you know that information generally in real time, and it should apply to decision making or the way in which the quota's managed. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much, Michael. That's around about it. I mean, for example, look, it's a really, really complex area, and it's a really complex sector. We have 642 different stocks that need to be managed in this country.
Wow.
642 different stocks within the quota management system. But each year, MPI can only possibly assess, because it's a complex process, about 20 to 30 of them. So at the moment, there are stocks which were assessed several decades ago, and we are still working on the total allowable catch from that time. What these tweaks will allow is that as information comes to hand, so one of the changes that you might have noticed is five-year total allowable catch setting, that doesn't mean that a total allowable catch is set for 5 years and it stays static. It means that there are certain decision rules that are embedded in that 5 years, and as we get that information and that data through, that will enable the minister, with public consultation, to either raise the total allowable catch for that stock because it's clearly abundant, or if the science and the data tells us that stock is in trouble, that will allow the minister, as again with public consultation, to decrease that stock. So it makes it way more flexible, therefore more efficient, better for the fishery, the fishers, consumers, and the New Zealand economy.
Listen, one of the things that's always, and I don't quite get, you'll have it, but I don't, is who actually is fishing. So when the quota management system came in, it wasn't just about, as you say, a sustainable fishery and making sure that the fish will always be there. But certainly with the Sea Lords deal, which came in later on as well, there was an idea of ensuring that New Zealand had control of a resource as well, of our fishing resource within our economic zone, and that there would be an encouragement for New Zealanders, New Zealand-owned vessels, trained to go and harvest this. So it was sort of a virtuous circle. Who catches most of our fish now? Because I'm sort of under an impression that it's mostly foreign licensed vessels that do so, or that we sell quota to various foreign companies. Have I got that right or wrong?
Yeah, no, I think you've got that slightly wrong, Michael. I'd need to absolutely check on that, but I think that was the case several decades ago, where we would have foreign licensed longline vessels in our EEZ. My understanding is that that no longer is the case. So it is largely, if not exclusively, New Zealand vessels that are harvesting that quota.
Okay.
Again, I would need to double check on that, Michael. I think there have been some significant changes there, but my understanding is it's a New Zealand resource that is harvested by New Zealand companies.
Okay. All right. So it's doing what it's meant to do then. Most of our fish catch is what, exported or consumed locally?
Well, what I can tell you, and look, I don't have the percentages offhand, but the total seafood industry earns about $2.2 billion in export revenue each year, which is a significant amount.
Yes.
So
It's equivalent to the wine industry, isn't it? Really, which means it's quite sizable.
It's a sizable primary sector and a really important one, which again is why it was really important that Minister Shane Jones focused on our sector, came up with a seafood industry forum which ran throughout 2024, which collaboratively brought forward these prospective changes, because they really, really do enable both sustainability of the fishery, but also sustainability of fishing businesses. And we're seeing, Michael, quite frankly, a range of businesses needing to exit because they just can't make it work economically. And that's a real downside and a real shame, not just for the consumers of fish, but it actually stands to eat at our bottom line in terms of our ability to continue to maintain our exports at the level they're at.
So the reason they're exiting because there aren't enough fish to catch, Lisa?
No, absolutely not. No, the opposite. In fact, our fisheries are in really, really good health. Our quota management system has ensured that. No, it's the economics of it for them, the increased costs to them. So just to give you an example, every year the fishing industry contributes $36 million in cost recoveries, and that covers things like the cost of doing the science and the research, but also compliance. So they pay for the surveillance of the government of the fishery. So that's through cameras, through observers, etc. It's a really big cost impost on them. And some of our smaller players just simply can't continue to sustain that when you bear in mind the additional costs of things like fuel, labour, and so on. It's just, it becomes very, very difficult for them. So these reforms come at a really, really critical time for us when the government is trying to drive economic growth. And we want to be part of that. But unless we remove some of the bureaucratic red tape involved in our fishery and ultimately make things more sustainable for our businesses, that's not going to happen.